Well, dear students of class 6, we were in the last class we had a discussion about the changes around us, and I talked with you all about the physical and chemical changes, and today I will talk about the reversible and irreversible change. Reversible and irreversible change. Now, please remember that most of the physical change are reversible in nature, but the chemical changes that occur around us are generally irreversible in nature. So when I am talking about some changes, like suppose you kick a football to your opponent and then the opponent kicks back the football to you, that means there is a change in position, but there is no other change. So that means from you to the opponent it goes and back it comes to you. That is a reversible change, right? And then like suppose you have a birthday party at your home, and then you take and inflate, you try to inflate a balloon, right? And after that, when the party is over, you bring it back and then you take out the air from the balloon. Then what happens? You get back that balloon. So that is a reversible change. And then if you see that, suppose a piece of iron, it is being put over it is being put over a flame, then you will find that it becomes red in color. So that red in color, actually what happens is that change is irreversible, because if once you take it out from the flame, it will regain back the original color and it will not become red hot, right? Or the heat that is being passed on to the iron rod will also be automatically put down, and you can touch the iron rod after some time after it has cooled, and it will not show any effect. So that is a reversible change. And even like when you are putting water in the refrigerator and it becomes ice, then again when you take it out from the refrigerator it melts, and then at one time you get the normal water. So that is also a reversible change. And then yes, most of the reversible change, what happens, the internal structure of the substance that is involved, they do not change. Now like the balloon, when you are putting in air, it grows in size, and after that when the air is being taken out, then you get back the original balloon. So that means the size is not being affected. Now when you are hitting the iron rod over the flame, that means what happens, it becomes hot, but after some time and it becomes red hot, and after some time if you keep it out, then you will find that the shape will not change, right? And that is known as the irreversible change. And now if you now suppose you go on filling up a balloon, go on filling up the balloon with an air, and you do not stop. So at one time the balloon will burst, right? So that is an irreversible. You cannot change back. It has broken. That means it has splashed into different pieces, right? Then if you talk about the, like suppose at one time you were a baby, now you have grown up to a child, then you will become a young girl or a boy, and then after that you will become old. So that growth is also irreversible. Like a person who is quite grown up, like I cannot, for myself, I cannot, now I am of this age, and after even if I try to get back to the baby stage, I cannot. So this is irreversible change. So that means you cannot take it back to the original one, and that is known as irreversible change. And in most of the irreversible change, there is like as I told you, that in reversible change, the shape of the concerned substance, it does not change, right? But in case of irreversible change, like a baby growing into a young person, so that is that you see that there is a change in the structure of the person. So that means in irreversible change, there is a change in the internal structure, and the molecules that make up the substance, they undergo changes to form a new substance, right? So so that is way, that is what that means. When we are talking about reversible and irreversible changes, reversible changes are those changes which you can take it back to the original one, and the irreversible change are the one which you cannot bring back to the original stage, right? And then the one way to see the group to change, see the change if the change is irreversible or reversible. And now next we are talking about the physical and chemical changes. Now, this word itself will tell you what is physical change, and this word itself will tell you what is chemical change. When you are talking about the physical change, actually what happens is that there is a change in the physical structure. Right. Now, I take a piece of paper and then I tear it into different pieces, and then that is a physical change, because actually no new substance is being formed in the physical change. The substance which is being formed, which is newly being formed, like suppose I break this piece of chalk, then what will happen? There will be no new substance which will be formed. But when I am talking about, suppose you keep milk outside for 1 or 2 days, then what will happen? You will get curd. So when you get curd, that means milk has changed to curd, and there is a chemical change, and you cannot take it back to the original one. That means the milk, that means the chemical change. There has been a chemical change, and this is known as chemical change. And now suppose you keep food outside, then what happens? When you keep food outside, you will find that at one time it will give a foul smell, and because some a chemical reaction has occurred, and it actually spoils the food when you are not refrigerating it. So that is a chemical change. Now, when I told, I means like kicking off the football, as in the beginning of the class I told you all. So when I am kicking a football, then what happens? The football will go back, and then it will come back to you. It will cover a distance. There is only a change in the position, and there is no new substance that is formed. That is why the kicking of football is a physical change. Now, when I am tearing the paper, that is also a physical change, because it has grown smaller in size. When I am tearing the page, that means it has grown smaller in size, but there is no new substance which is being formed. Now, next is that, like suppose the growing changing of size after use. Like you take a piece of pencil, and then when you go on writing, that lead, it grows less in size, and then with the sharpener you go on pointing the pencil. So that means it has with use, it has since you are sharpening it, so it will grow less in size, but no new substance is being formed. So that is also a physical change. Now, when you are freezing water, as I told you, that means when you are keeping water in the refrigerator, and then at one time you will find that it will turn into ice. So when it will turn into ice, then you will find that if you take that ice out from the refrigerator and keep it outside, then it will melt, and then you will get water again. So next is heating substances. Like suppose you fill up a balloon, and then you keep it out in the sun, then what will happen? The sun rays will allow the air inside the balloon to expand, and that is why when it will expand, the balloon will also expand along with it. But after you bring it out from the sun, and then you bring it inside your room, then you will find that once the expansion of air is lessened out, because there is no sun rays, then you will find that the balloon will come to the original size. So these are all examples of physical change, and in these changes, these most of the physical change are reversible in nature. So they are reversible in nature, and this physical change like tearing of page, then changing of the size of the pencil, and then you cannot reverse it back, right? So but what happens is that most physical change, they are temporary, so they are not permanent. So this physical change, and then this physical change can also be reversed in some of the cases. And now like what happens when you need to fit an iron ring on the, and you know that it is because of the expansion of the, because the iron expands on heating, that is why the railway tracks have a gap in between, so that if it expands, then what happens, it can expand properly, but if there is no gap, then the iron track will crack, and that will lead to an accident. So the same property, that is that iron expands on heating, that same property is being used to fit an iron ring on the wooden wheel. Like suppose you are having a wooden wheel and you need to fit it inside an iron ring. What you need to do is that means when you hit that iron wheel, then what will happen? It will get expanded, and when it get expanded, then you fit that wooden wheel into that ring. Then as it cools down, it will get sticked to that wooden wheel, and then it means it can be used as for the wheel purpose. So that is how the a wooden wheel can be fitted into an iron wheel. So now let us consider some of the other examples. Like suppose you burn a piece of paper, then what happens when you burn a piece of paper? Then what you will get, you will get some sort of ashes, right? And that ash, the property of that ash is completely different from that of the paper which you have burned, and you cannot reverse back that ash which you can collect it, and you cannot reverse it back to the paper. So that is an irreversible change. That is an irreversible change, and also a chemical change, because a new substance is being formed and you cannot reverse it back. Now, similarly, when you are talking about the growth in plants and animals, then what happens? A plant and animal grow with its size, and then here we take the food that we consume. So, and it goes for some chemical changes, and then what happens when it goes from some chemical changes, then this has some new substances that is being formed. Now the food that you take in, it is being digested, then it gives nutrients to your body, it increases the blood, and then it allows you to grow better. As you can hear your parents, like when you don't take your food properly, then you tell that how you will grow. That means the food that you are taking in helps you to grow in size, and that is because of the changes that grows in us. So next is what is cooking, right? Suppose when you boil an egg, before boiling an egg, it is raw in nature. It has if you break it, it is like the albumin and the yolk will be in the liquid state. But when you boil it, then heat is being given to the egg. Then what happens? Then you get the white part and the yolk, which is the yellow part. So you cannot revive it back to the original one. That means a chemical change has occurred, and then it is an irreversible one. So it becomes hard, and the taste obviously is quite different, right? And the molecules they change to give a new substance, and that say similarly, then when you are cooking chapati, you're cooking dal, rice, all these are changes which are chemical in nature, and also they are irreversible. So chemical change occurs when there is a chemical reaction of the substance. So here, as I have given you the examples for physical and chemical change, and also reversible and irreversible change, please try to go through the chapter till the part which I have explained. Then if you have any doubt, please do clear it out. Thank you very much.